So Simon, that's actually fascinating, the whole emerging markets area, and certainly the last thing you're talking about there as well is how it impacts the world. Literally how it impacts the world, both economically and sustainability wise. Now you've been an executive in international business, in financial services, in investment. You're doing global deals. Um, Not to necessarily go back to when you were a little kid, but how did this evolve? How did this become an interest of yours to make this happen?
Well, I guess I've always been interested in travel and the excitement of going overseas and spending time and learning about different cultures. I happen to be married to a Korean, so we have a family connection in Asia. My wife, after 20 years working in Europe and gradually trying to move myself towards Asia. I worked for HSBC Bank. I worked for Nomura, which is a great Japanese institution.
Hmm.
And then I set up my own business. And to do that, I came back to the United Kingdom, where I felt I would have a greater chance of success, but still with very much an international focus. So I took my wife on this journey, and I promised her that at the end of the last part of that journey, which was building my multi-asset class business in the UK, we would move to Asia, and we would spend what is hopefully going to be the second half of our lives living in Asia. And that's where we are now. We have 3 kids, and they're enjoying life enormously. We've traveled extensively across Asia, and it's been a great education for them and a wonderful experience for me.
Well,
Uh,
it brings up, sorry to interrupt, brings up a great point. This is a leadership series relating to different executives, experiences and stories. The leadership. Well, first, let me ask you a question I ask a lot of executives, and it's a longer answer than we have time to give. But what's your definition of leadership? And I say it with the perspective of, it seems to me you're actually teaching your kids leadership just with all the travel and exposure they have as well.
Leadership, my goodness, that has changed very significantly, I think, during the course of our lives. We grew up in far more regimented and disciplined environments where you were expected to pursue a very defined course through your education in terms of choices that you had and in terms of the kinds of jobs that would make your parents happy when you left college, if you were
Right.
lucky enough to go to college.
Right.
I think today we live in a world where a lot of kids are doing all kinds of entrepreneurial things at a very early age. And I think that's wonderful because you make mistakes early, you have success early. There is an element of serendipity. Unfortunately, there are going to be far more failures than winners because you simply don't have the experience that is necessary to typically carry you through and to help you get through the stage of building a business and building a bigger business, which is usually where people hit the buffers.
Right.
So, so my view on leadership is that people need to be encouraged to pursue the things that they are interested in. You have a far greater chance of success if you're doing something you're passionate about, and not do what you think your folks want you to be doing, but do what you feel you're passionate about. And then subsequently talk to as many people, network, learn, and benefit from other people's experience. I think that leadership, unfortunately, is not available to many people because they don't go out and seek it. And it obviously doesn't come from a hierarchy. It comes from your peers. It comes from other people who can share experience of success and failure with you. And that's, I think, it goes for people who are in their 20s or people like me who are approaching 50. You still need to seek advice and talk to people to make it a success and to be an effective leader.
Related to that, then, and I think you're bang on, and it's great comments and insight. Working with people in different countries, different languages, and even most importantly, different cultures, because a lot of times people think, well, if you speak different languages, you understand the culture. That's not necessarily accurate. But in business, investing with people, for people, doing deals, you're going to run into all types of different situations in the different countries, languages, and cultures, and the rules and regulations. Do you find that more exciting, more complicated? Both. What do you think?
I left the UK when I was in my early 20s professionally to go and work overseas and spend time working and learning in other countries. But when the time came to set up my own business, I came back to my country of birth to build that business. And I think it would have been very challenging for me to do it at that age in any other country.
Mm-hmm.
There are cultural nuances, there are prejudices, there are difficulties and hurdles that you're going to encounter everywhere, even in your own country. But I think you probably have a better understanding of how to tackle those challenges in your home. I now live overseas. I love the challenge of doing business in Asia. I like interacting with people from all over the world, and I'm lucky to live in a very cosmopolitan part of the world. But of course, I also travel a lot. I'm here in the UK. I was in the States a couple of weeks ago. I'm heading down to South Africa tomorrow. I go to the markets in which we invest, China, India, etc. So my life is a very peripatetic life. I'm out there meeting lots of people. Is it challenging? It certainly is. Is it about the confidence that you have in what you're talking about as something that is relevant to your audience? I think it is. And there are certainly parts of the world where selling mutual funds is going to be very tough, very challenging. People aren't ready for that. There are parts of the world where people don't want to lock up their capital into long-term agricultural investments. So we have to identify markets and go after the people within those markets that have the sophistication and the needs for the types of businesses that we're offering. My business is pretty specific now, but it does cover a very complex and very wide range of different geographies.
That's for sure. And I sit on the board of an organization that promotes sustainability and clean tech and renewable energy, agribusiness, etc. In fact, we do a lot of executive search in those realms. That's again an incredible emerging market. How do you find the right money managers to handle the investments you need to have done? And are you finding that more and more people are interested in investing that, or is there still some not resistance but hesitancy? Tell us a little bit about that.
We've been through a number of different iterations in the asset management world, and one of the consequences of the financial crisis is that money has gravitated towards the bigger players, the players who can meet the enormous compliance burden that is now on anybody who is in the business of overseeing money. And that is why I work with State Street, because I need to be confident that we're working with an organization that is going to be there in 10, 20 years and
Sure.
is a tremendously robust and well-capitalized business. In terms of the managers, similarly, there are very talented people within the boutique asset management world, but we tend to go with larger institutions that have a significant amount of resources available to manage money and to evaluate investment opportunities locally. So that's on the public equity side, the mutual funds that we run. On the agricultural side, again, there are very few professional agricultural managers who have the experience of running institutional capital. It's been a cottage industry. Most farms are owned by individual farmers. And that is now changing because the institutional world likes real assets. It likes to own income-generating assets, and it recognizes that there are significant shifts and changes going on culturally and in terms of dietary habits across the world, which are driving the agricultural investment theme. You made a very important point about environmental, social, and governance-related issues. These are very important, particularly when you're going into new markets where you have to look after the people whose livelihoods are dependent on these activities, and where you may be changing the model. And ideally, you can involve them in these changes so they still have a long-term vested interest in agriculture. But agriculture is becoming large-scale. It is becoming more mechanized. It's an inevitability of our requirement to feed the world.
Yeah, no, I think I think you're in a super exciting arena right now, and pioneer is an interesting word to use, but it's almost pioneering.
It is. There are many local people who want to raise money for agricultural projects, but you'd have great difficulty naming investment managers that have an agricultural investment program that you can invest in as an individual. It's a new asset class. It's a very important asset class, I think, and it is being led actually by some big U.S. players. TIAA-CREF, the Virginia Retirement Scheme, is at the forefront of bringing institutional capital into the agricultural world outside the United States.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we see it increasing too because we've done a lot of wealth management, asset management people searches for good people, and you're starting to hear it certainly being talked about a lot more, especially since we're involved in the sustainability arena as well. Let me ask you some, if I may, so we don't run out of time, let me ask you some real personal questions, just to let the audience get to know you. Not that personal, like I said.
Can you see me okay? I see the light's gone off here.
No, you look fantastic. Okay? Or as Billy Crystal would say, you look marvelous, marvelous.
You're very
I know you travel a lot, but do you have any pets?
Sure, yeah. I've always had animals. I grew up on a farm, and we couldn't live without pets. So we have a dog in Singapore, a small dog. I think it would be unfair to have a big dog in a city like that, but we have a small schnauzer, absolute adorable creature, goes berserk when I get home, and I'll be very much looking forward to seeing her soon. We have fish. We have a big fish pond, and the kids love feeding the fish. And we have 2 guinea pigs. So it's not exactly a farm, Mark, but there's a few animals for the kids to take care of.
Well, I invite you to send us a picture of you and your schnauzer, because one of the executives a while back suggested we do executives and their pets program, and that's evolved into pets and their executives, actually. So so I invite you to send a picture when you get back to Singapore, a picture of yourself and the schnauzer would be great. Hey, do you have a favorite activity or sport?
Well, I try and keep fit, and keeping fit isn't necessarily a particularly exciting pursuit. You know, it usually involves going to the gym. It usually involves running. I love skiing. I love swimming. I do a bit of scuba diving. So yeah, I live a pretty active life, and you know, I have 3 kids, and they keep me pretty active as well. So,
know the feeling.
I'm now training both my son and my daughter to pass a rugby ball, because you're not really familiar in the U.S. with rugby, but it's a big game where we come from. So both of my kids in Singapore are playing rugby, and yeah, that's got me running around in the park with them now.
I bet. Well, rugby has started to get more popular here, and certainly in Canada, I knew rugby quite well. And they think football's tough. Try getting into a hitting match with no equipment, right?
Well, we call it American football for real men.
Yeah, I would agree with you. Is there a movie or TV show that's a favorite of yours?
TV shows, yeah, I have been watching a bit of American TV, so I'm quite keen on The Good Wife. I'm not sure whether it's because I find the lead actress particularly attractive or the show is good, but I won't tell my wife why I'm watching it.
It's probably a combination of both.
House of Cards is a fantastic sociological study of the human condition. I really enjoy that. And movies, I guess.
Those are good choices. Those are good choices. Do you have a favorite type of music?
Um, I've got a very broad taste in music. So I love soul music. I love rock. I do love pop. I get a lot of exposure to pop music through the kids.
I bet.
My daughters are playing the piano, so we have quite a lot of classical. My eldest daughter Ava is quite an accomplished ballerina. So yeah, we've got a reasonably broad church. Let's put it that way.
Well, that's something to be proud of. I'll tell you that's fantastic. How about last question? How about favorite type of food?
It's got to be Italian, Mark. I mean, it's a tragedy that I'm living in Asia and I can't say it's Chinese or Korean. My wife is Korean and she's a pretty good cook. But again, I wouldn't want to just live on Italian food, but I had to be on a desert island and have a chef serving me a single dish. It would probably be a good spaghetti bolognese.
I probably would be with you too. It's not kimchi every day, then, is it?
Yeah, I should hope not.
Exactly. Hey, thanks you so much for participating. That was terrific. Really appreciate it.
Not at all. It's great to be with you, and look forward to catching up with you again when I'm next in LA.
I do too. Thanks.